Fatty on the train turns out to be Kim Jong-un's Chinese nickname. The vast majority of Americans have a hard time keeping money in their savings accounts. Tesla and Nvidia shares fall amid driverless car doubts, and the latest biography about Prince Charles contains shocking revelations. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm Elliot Bullman. Let's go straight to the information. China finally confirmed on Wednesday that North Korea's leader made an unofficial visit to Beijing earlier this week. But while it was in progress, nobody would say what was going on, despite huge speculation and the fairly obvious signal of Kim's personal armored train pitching up in the city. In an attempt to keep the visit under wraps earlier this week, China censored the characters for Kim Jong-un and North Korea from its internet, as well as long-standing nicknames for the North Korean leader, such as Fatty Fatty. However, to circumvent the ban, some Chinese people picked other unflattering nicknames, like Fatty on the train, and others used more nuanced terms like the visitor from the Northeast and the sibling next door. China is North Korea's main economic ally, and it was thought highly likely it would consult Beijing before planned summits with South Korea and the United States. During the visit, Mr. Kim assured his Chinese counterpart he was committed to giving up his nuclear weapons, and China's Xinhua news agency reported that would be with conditions. Mr. Kim was reported saying that the issue of denuclearization of the Korean peninsula can be resolved if South Korea and the United States respond to our efforts with goodwill, create an atmosphere of peace and stability. President Donald Trump responded to the news by saying there's a good chance now of peace. In the meantime, however, maximum sanctions and pressure must be maintained at all costs, he added. In other news, you're not the only one who struggles to save money. In fact, most Americans are pretty bad at it. A 2017 survey from Go Banking Rates found that 67% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings accounts. Neil Emberson, a certified financial planner, investment advisor, and founder of KNG International Advisors, says that saving for retirement can seem like a daunting task for many people. According to Mr. Emberson, most Americans, or at least his clients, believe they have to have X number of dollars saved by retirement, and they throw up their hands and say, well, that's never going to happen, so let me just give up now. To simplify matters, Mr. Emberson uses a savings chart to show where you should be decade by decade. So if you're in your 20s, focus on becoming debt-free and growing your career. Millennials, you can breathe a sigh of relief for now. Financial experts generally don't expect people in their 20s to have much saved for retirement because so many Americans at their age are struggling with repaying student loans. Instead, 20-somethings should focus on tackling that debt and growing their career and income. But in your 30s and 40s, you should be more financially stable and make saving a priority. Once you're into your 30s, ideally, you'll be more financially stable and able to dedicate more of your income to savings. But Emberson warns against your spending keeping up with your income as you make more money in your 30s and 40s. Now, in your 50s and 60s, focus on setting aside money for retirement. As you get closer to retirement age, your savings should be becoming more significant. So a 55-year-old, for example, with a household income of $50,000 should have about $165,000 saved up, and someone with a salary of closer to $75,000 should have around $382,500. Having a clear intention in mind for how much you want and need to save is key. Setting up automatic transfers into a savings account that's not linked to your checking account is a very good way to manage your savings, Emberson says. In other news, shares in Tesla and California chipmaker Nvidia plunged on Tuesday amid fresh worries about the promise of self-driving car technology. The concerns added to a wider technology sell-off that saw US markets reverse gains notched on Monday as fears of a global trade war receded. The tech-rich Nasdaq index plunged more than 200 points, or nearly 2.9%. while the S&P 500 lost 1.73% to 2,612 points. Nvidia, a supplier of autonomous driving technology, was among the biggest losers after the company said it had halted self-driving tests on public roads. Shares, which rose precipitously last year, closed down almost 7.8%. Nvidia's decision follows a fatal crash earlier this month involving a self-driving Uber car in Arizona. On Monday evening, the state's governor announced it would bar Uber from future tests until a federal probe is concluded. Other firms, such as Toyota, have also said they'll scale back testing on public roads for now. Questions about car safety have also dogged Tesla, after US safety regulators said they were investigating a fatal accident involving one of its vehicles. The National Transportation Safety Board said it's examining the fire that occurred after the accident and looking to determine if the autopilot system had been active. Tesla shares sank more than 8% to less than $280, the lowest price in about a year. Also, Facebook and Google's owner, Alphabet, were also down around 5% on Tuesday amid ongoing concerns about data privacy protections. In other news, Tom Bower's explosive new unauthorized biography on Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, which was released last week, describes the heir as a spoiled and petulant man who is surrounded by chaos and squandering malice. In Rebel Prince, the author Tom Bower brings to light the problems and tribulations of Charles's long wait for the throne. For this undertaking, Bower gathered information through interviews with 120 sources. One of the most revealing exposés in the book reveals how Charles's love for luxury is opposed by the Queen. According to Bower, Charles spent £18,916 sterling for a drink in a pub in Cumbria, England, and also spent more than £20,000 on a plane ticket. By contrast, the frugal Queen usually spends just over €50 to travel by train to her residence in Norfolk County. Charles also blames the Queen and Prince Philip for having had a horrible childhood. Apparently, he's never forgiven the Queen and Prince Philip for sending him to a Scottish school. The Netflix series The Crown shows how tortuous Charles's experience was at Gordonstown School. Supposedly, his father forced him to wear an outfit that caused the teasing of his classmates. The rejection of the Queen to the marriage of Charles and Camilla is evident, and Charles felt a deep sadness after his mother, the Queen of England, said unexpectedly at a dinner party that she wouldn't be attending his and Camilla's wedding at Windsor Town Hall, according to the book. And then the book also reveals how Charles feared he would be blamed for Diana's death in August 1997. Charles is said to be deeply distressed about thinking what was going to happen to him. According to Bower, those present at Balmoral Castle in Scotland heard him lamenting, saying, "Everyone's going to blame me, right?" The fact it took so long to issue an official statement by royalty could be attributed in part to the prince's doubts. It remains unclear who's going to ascend to the throne in the United Kingdom, and there's some concern about the prospect of Charles ascending the throne after the death of his mother. The UK government refrains from making a commitment to the succession of Charles in its official protocol. And Bower notes for his part that Clarence House has refused to comment on the book. This was all for today. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.